Dan in Chicago. Hey, Dan, what's up? Thanks for listening to WCPT. Hey, Dan.
Just a comment quickly about the guns in Nazi Germany that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
In regard to Dr. Ben Carson. I'm a Jewish guy, liberal. I'm for common sense gun control. My grandfather was lynched by Nazis in 1938. And I know that the Jews would not have been able to fight the Nazi army or the Wehrmacht, but
they couldn't have even fought the brown shirts, Dan, the volunteers.
Right. No.
And in fact, they didn't. The brown shirts killed a lot of Jews.
Yeah.
Or trashed a lot of Jewish communities. I mean, go back to Kristallnacht. Those were volunteer Nazi forces. And the fact of the matter is, Hitler never imposed gun control. The gun control had been put into place back in the late 1920s after World War I in order to clean up weapons of war from the German streets. And in 1938, and this is before they were shipping Jews off to the concentration camps, if my recollection is correct, in 1938, the Hitler Nazi regime loosened gun control, and they started encouraging young people to own guns. The Hitler Youth thing was growing. Now, they weren't encouraging Jews to own guns, but they were encouraging Germans to own guns. So this whole canard that the Nazis... Okay, go with your point, Dan.
Make my point?
Sure.
Okay. The point was Nazis would go... and you're right, 19 was killed by brown shirts, not by the army. But they would knock on people's doors, Jews and not Jews.
Yeah, just beat the crap out of them. Dan, your phone is breaking up really badly. I can't hear you. Can you stand where you were a few minutes ago?
Yeah. If they could have defended themselves when somebody came to the door and said, "Hey, where are the Jews?" the Nazis would have had to spend a lot more resources. They wouldn't have just been able to do what they did.
You know what they would have done, Dan? They would have done what the Philadelphia police did to the Symbionese Liberation Army when they came to the door and they said, "We want to come in and get you guys." And they said, "No, we're gonna close the door. By the way, we've got guns in here." Yeah. And what did the Philadelphia police do? They firebombed the building.
I guess my point was, if my grandfather and people like him had a gun, the Nazis wouldn't have been able to wreak as much carnage.
I disagree, Dan. I think they would have been killed faster, and they would have been killed in their homes, rather than being put on train cars and killed at Auschwitz and Belsen and whatnot.
It would have been a tougher time. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Dan, thanks a lot for the call. I think the Nazis would have just had, that would have just provided them with the exact same excuse every time the police in the United States slaughter people. And look at all the slaughters, particularly back in the 60s and 70s, largely of black people in this country, in response to them simply trying to defend themselves. The Nazis would have done the same thing to the Jews if they tried to defend themselves. And in fact, some did, actually. There were some Jews specifically in the Warsaw Ghetto who were armed, and they did an uprising against the Nazis, and they killed quite a few Nazis. And what did the Nazis do? Crushed them like a bug.